We are wrapping up 9 News Heart Week today by focusing on heart failure. Carol Beeley was 48 years old when her life changed drastically. She'd been feeling tired, short of breath, and then passed out at work.
Yeah, she went to the ER, but she was able to convince herself and her doctors that she should go home because there was nothing wrong. Well, a few days later, she was still feeling poorly and watching television, which may have actually saved her life. Carol is with us today, along with our 9 News medical expert, Dr. Camilla Sasson, to tell the rest of the story.
So I'm joined here by Carol, and this story is, again, absolutely amazing, as they all have been this entire week. So you were skiing and doing everything you normally do up until everything kind of changed just a few years ago, really. So tell us a little bit about what happened. You pass out at work, you convince everybody you're fine, and then all of a sudden you're watching Netflix, and Rosie O'Donnell saves your life. How does that work?
So I went to the ER because I passed out at work, so they kind of make you go to the ER.
Yeah.
And convinced them that I was fine. I thought it was just a migraine, and I started feeling bad, and I was feeling sort of poorly for the next couple of days, and so I wait almost 4 days, and I can't sleep, and I'm in bed, and I don't want to disturb anyone, so I'm watching on my iPad television, and I think I'm flipping through, and there's a Rosie O'Donnell special. I think it was on Netflix or HBO, I can't remember, but she was doing her comedy special, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and she starts talking about having a heart attack and what the symptoms are. And so she's going through the symptoms. And if you have a pain in your arm, and I'm like, oh, I have a pain in my arm. And if you have a pain in your neck, and I'm like, oh, I have a pain in my neck.
Right.
And do you feel a sense of dread? And I'm like, yeah, I feel a sense of dread. And so all those things, it started hitting me that maybe this is my heart. And
you Google it to find out what time to go to the emergency department.
I do.
Show up at 6 a.m. and there's this huge flurry of activity, right? So all of a sudden you get in there and you've got x-rays going, you've got an echo of your heart, and then they diagnose you with heart failure. You're 48 years old. What is going through your head at that point?
Well, and to be honest, I don't actually comprehend all of it. So my husband was there with me, thankfully, because he takes it in, and they would leave the room. And he'd say, what do you think about this? You have heart failure. And I'd say, no, they're going to give me some drugs and I get to go home. He's like, no, that you have heart failure. And they would have to come in and tell me again. And it really couldn't sink in. And I never thought I'd be that person. I thought that I would be the person who would understand everything that was going on. I mean, I've watched enough Chicago Med. And,
right, to know.
You know, so
and they're literally showing you that now you've got heart failure. Ejection fraction is so low, meaning that your heart is not pumping well enough that you need to have a pacemaker placed. And so this is the diagram that they're showing you of how your heart is functioning. And what's going through your head. Now, you said you couldn't comprehend any of this, but your husband was your advocate. And I think that's such an important part for folks, is that what did he do that really kind of helped you sort of figure out what was going on?
Well, he was fantastic. I mean, he was the one that was taking all the information in, and he would repeat it to me, and then it would finally sink into me that this is what was going on. So, you know, I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't had him there.
Well, and your life has changed since then, right? Now you're going from being 48 years old, skiing 2 weeks prior in Winter Park, and now you've got to go to the heart failure clinic, take medications. How has your life changed because of what happened?
Well, you know, it's a huge adjustment, right? I have a pacemaker defibrillator in my chest that I'll have there for always, and I had to get used to that, and that was certainly a big adjustment. I went through cardio rehab. I went through, you know, the dietitian. I've changed how I eat, and now I'm really, you know, I focus in on what's important in life, and certainly work isn't that. It's really your family and your. I have a daughter.
Beautiful daughter, Izzy, who's here with us as well. So I think that's such important words to live by, and I think that's what we've learned this week with all of our Heart Week guests that we've had, is that it's gratitude, it's early recognition, and most importantly, taking care of yourself first, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thanks so much for sharing your story. Really appreciate it. Back to you, Tom and Kim.
That's amazing. We continue to learn about awareness, just how people oftentimes are unaware and suddenly made aware, and it can be the difference, obviously, between life and death.
Yeah, I'm glad you were watching that show and then decided to Google. I know doctors don't always love that, but sometimes it's a good thing.
Rosie saved your life. We'll take it.
Saved,
It's good to see you, Carol. Thanks. Thanks, Dr. Camilla. Well, it is finally Friday. How sweet it is. We have a little afternoon escape coming up when we come back.